Alright, here in the finals, definitely got to mull this hand, unfortunately. We do have our 18th land in our hand, right? If each of these are a half a mana source, you get it. Okay, one lander, let's go to 5. Alright, this is acceptable. Alright, well, I don't think we could have asked for a better draw, so I guess that's good. Green, red. Land is actually okay. Not based on our hand per se, but based on the knowledge of what our deck is. Dragon Fodder into Custodian of the Trove is pretty weird, I gotta admit. It's probably not what is expected. Hey, Vulturous Aven is a great draw here. We're drawing really well for our 5-card hand, I will say that. In fact, Vulturous Aven is one of those things that could bring us right back up to speed with where our opponent's at, which is kind of nice. Guess I should have attacked first. So he possibly played around a trick. I could have gotten extra damage in there. Didn't think about it. I was just so ready to play a Custodian of the Trove. Alright, so we got a morph creature. Does that mean our opponent's going to miss his land drop? Looks like it. Alright, well, it seems like a pretty obvious Vulturous Aven, so let's go ahead and slam that guy and sack a goblin. Get some nice value here. Very good draws. So, Vulturous Aven, really good draw there, since now we have an evasive creature to attack with, and we got some nice card draw as well. And Deathbringer Regent is one of the better cards to have, I would say, in the late game. Wandering Tombshell is also remarkably good against a Conifer Strider. I think we're going to actually play that instead of the Colossodon Yearling. I mean, alternatively, I could just wait until I'm at Deathbringer Regent phase, but I am certainly not opposed to a Wandering Tombshell versus a Conifer Strider. So if he attacks into my board, I think I actually block Goblin. I would suspect a Tread Upon, which means I take a bunch of trample damage, but I think that the nice aspect is I don't lose my Tomb Shell, and I have him for a future block, so it's going to require at least another combat trick of some sort. And our opponent's mana screwed, which is really helpful considering we, well, he's not really mana screwed anymore. He's got 5 mana with the Whisper of the Wilds, which means I maybe should have killed the Whisperer. I guess if he doesn't play anything this turn, that might just be the play. Ire Shaman, okay. Einok Artillerist. Still pretty tempted to Sarkhan's Rage the Whisper of the Wilds. But I'm still in a pretty good position to play Deathbringer Regent. Jeez. Just hit the honey pot. Yeah, that was Seismic Rupture is absolutely bonkers here. It does kill my goblin, but I think that's the absolute least of my concerns. I just wiped my opponent's board pretty, and that was just absolutely devastating against my opponent. Like at this point, I can play Deathbringer Regent as just a 5/6 flyer, even if there's not 5 creatures on the board. Because it's 5 or more other creatures on the board. So really it's 6 creatures, including the Deathbringer Regent. Let's just get in with... We'll get in with both. I'll pretend like I got a combat trick. Alright, he's not concerned. We'll play Formless Nurturing and pass. Alright. Alright, so I think we just continue the beats. Attacking with the Wandering Tomb Shell here dissuades him from double blocking the Manifest, but if he does double block the Manifest, I'll just Sarkhan's Rage one of them, I think. Even if he has collateral damage, it's not the end of the world. I guess he could have Wild Slash or something, but that really doesn't matter all that much either. I mean, I would prefer to save Sarkhan's Rage to throw at my opponent's face, but he did do the double block, which is fine. We are going to kill both his Morph, mostly because we just get to continue beating down, which I think is still more valuable than nuking my opponent for 5. So, Segment Crotique's gone, and Guardian Shieldbearer is gone. Alright. Well, basically wiped our opponent's board again, which is nice. Came at the cost of a Sarkhan's Rage, but ultimately, in my opinion, worth it. Alright, Sprinting Warbrute. Still okay. This is our 6th land, so I guess we'll just swing with the Vulturous Haven. Play an Outrider and pass. So it's got to attack with the Warbrute, which is a pretty easy block with the Tomb Shell. If he's got a combat trick, so be it. We're in a pretty commanding lead at the moment. Ooh. So he's going to go down to 2, I guess? I'm trying to think if there's anything I can do about that. I guess not. Still, our Tomb Shell lives, which is pretty funny. So our opponent has Arc Bond, certainly. Well, we both got some huge value on each other this game, Seismic Rupture and Arc Bond. I have a Deathbringer Regent, though. I have to admit, I'm not thrilled about showing it to my opponent, but I still will, obviously, if I get the land. Alright, we'll just do Sheltered Area on a mountain, I guess. And we'll play a Colossadon Yearling. Thing does have reach, though. Alright, Lurking Erynx. explosive vegetation, but then I can't play the Deathbringer. I think we just go Regent here. It's got to deal with it. Does have the Avatar. He's also got... He doesn't have Formidable yet, though. So he does have an actual blocker for the Avatar, but let's see if that comes up. I mean, alternatively, I wait until there's another creature on the board. I guess I could have done that. I mean, I'm not at risk from Hunt the Week. Just a concession. Maybe he forgot he had reach. I'm not sure. But we were going to draw pretty well for the next couple turns, so I would say his mulligan was not necessarily in vain, but it was still a turn early. He still had a block left in him. Okay, so what did I see out of my opponent's deck? I saw some really low toughness stuff, which is going to make that Seismic Rupture that much better, and Pyrotechnics for that matter, and Volcanic Vision as well. So we've got 3 pretty solid looking board wipes. We just won on a mull to 5 too, which is really impressive. I feel like we have a good game against our opponent because we've got this double Custodian, which blocks even his high power guys, low toughness pretty well. So I'm not sure I have to do any changes per se. Return to the Earth. Did we see any artifacts or enchantments or creatures with flying? I want to say no. I'm assuming he's just some sort of a mid-rangey sort of deck. He's got some good morphs. But I think we can beat that, so let's just try this again. Great looking hand. We've got ramp, we've got early blockers. Could have brought in anti-enchant or artifact hate for our custodians, I suppose. But I'm actually going to play Bloodfell Caves first because we've got an untapped green mana next turn if for some reason we need it. Like for a dragon fodder or something. Alright, it's got his ramp element, which is fine. Let's just play Blossoming Sands and pass. Next turn we get to play Custodian into Wandering Tombshell into Sandstep Scavenger, so certainly not a bad turn progression by any means. Arcbond, something I got to be conscious of, but it looks like our opponent missed his land drop again. Which is certainly interesting. No real need to play the Sheltered Area, it looks like this game. If I drew a removal spell, this would be a pretty good time to take out the Whisperer. Arcbond is what our opponent hit. So my opponent's not going to have Arcbond this game, which is pretty nice for us, actually. And I'm going to have Wandering Tombshell next turn to block the Ire Shaman, so I'm not too concerned about that either. Alright, opponent's got some pretty good pressure on board, though. I got to give him credit for there. But I would say we're still pretty good. I think we go Tombshell still. It's just better use of the mana and higher toughness. So, not opposed to double blocking an Ire Shaman and taking 4 here. I still think we're fairly safe. I mean, technically next turn I could I Sheltered Airy? Yeah, I can Sheltered Airy plus Colossedon Yearling, or I can do Sandstep Scavenger. Not sure what I like more. I mean, Sheltered Airy moves me up to my 7 drops faster, but that's pretty speculative. Other than that, I've got all my colors. I don't have double black yet for Deathbringer Regent, but I think that's okay. Ooh, Surak's pretty strong. I mean, I've got a 6 toughness guy for him, but my opponent's doing a lot with a little mana. I'm pretty impressed. Oh, he can give it self-haste, too. It's pretty impressive. Alright, just going balls to the wall, which is fine. So, I can eat his Ire Shaman, which I think is the best play I've got. This thing is not going to get less annoying. It does deal me 9 damage, but I still think we're okay. I think we're just going to double block here. This opens up better blocks next turn. And now I'm much more tempted to just slam a Sandstep Scavenger, so I think I'm going to do that and then pass. Just trying to buy some time here. I'm not in like an emergency situation, which is nice. But Surak's pretty nasty, gotta admit. Opponent's got Formidable as well. So, trying to think what I'd like to see. Unfortunately, Ancestral Vision doesn't do all that much on this board. You know, I wouldn't mind a Dramoka. That would be kind of nice. I'm trying to think of my best blocks, right? Given this board. Alright, that's not that insane. I mean, he can give it haste, but is he comfortable attacking? Yeah, that's kind of what I thought. Alright, a bit of a flood here, but we're still in a fairly stalled board state, so certainly not like an emergency situation by any means. Seismic Rupture still would be good, since it would take out his ramp element and deal with the Artillerist. That's interesting. I think we actually want to block with the Custodian. If it's a Tread Upon, I think I want to double block. I think it's a Tread Upon, so I'm going to double block with the 2 guys that don't die. This way, he still loses his guy, and it certainly forces him to do something. It just seems like a Tread Upon, but oh, could be something beefier. Alright, well, at least he doesn't kill both of our guys, but it's certainly terrible. Alright, Swift Workite. Ooh, now I wish my Custodian died. That's okay. We're still going to play the Swift Workite. Definitely wish I had just blocked his Custodian now, but that's okay. We're still in an okay spot here. I mean, we're not great, but we're not awful either. I'm trying to think of my best blocks. I guess Swift Workite on Surak, Custodian and Scavenger on Artillerist, because I only lose 1. And then I might just have to take 4. I guess that's my blocks. Can't really do much else. I certainly don't feel comfortable not blocking. I mean, I don't really have a lot of choice otherwise, but I do think that's my best blocks. Alright, well, Let's do Custodian and Scavenger. I can't do Colossadon Yearling 2, or else he doesn't have to play a trick and he still gets 2 of my guys. So I do think this is the correct block. Alright, that's unfortunate, but it happens. So I think I'm going to lose this game now, but not much I could do. My opponent just happened to have the... Oh, wow. Wow. My opponent had a great hand this game. I'm very impressed. So not much to be done, unfortunately. My opponent just happened to have some pretty powerful draws. So kind of put me in a tough spot. I think the most amazing part about that is my opponent was mana screwed and still managed to play 2 spells in 1 turn. That's really impressive. Alright, so my opponent's just like glorified green-red beatdown, ton of fatties everywhere deck, which is kind of a big deal against us, but is there any way to not die here? So Artillerist has to get chumped. I think I gotta kill his flyer rather than the Surak. I think I gotta block here. I still can cast everything in my deck. So I think I have to chump Artillerist. Oh, I see the problem. Well, I don't have anything to do with Ancestral Vision either. That's tough. I feel like this is a good block. Sadly, I think I might have to do this and then chump. Take 8, go to 1. It gets the most stuff off his board. It does leave him with a flyer, which is a big deal, but I'm not sure I've got any other way to get out of this board. Oh, does this have trample too? Oh, so I still die. Alright. Well, it was a tough spot. I don't think we were winning that anyway. I probably had a block where I could have survived, but it would have been not so good. How many flyers does my opponent have? Just the Destructor Dragon? Doesn't seem worth it to bring in cards for 1 card, especially when I already have main deck outs for it, like Grim Contest or Pyrotechnics or Sarkhan's Rage. Volcanic Vision, technically. Seismic Rupture actually seems bad against my opponent for the most part, but I got that huge value that 1 game, so it still makes sense in my mind. I'd like to see Assault Formation. Maybe now that I've mentioned its name, I'll see it in my opening hand. But I haven't seen it yet this whole draft, and I think it's so good in our deck. So I would like to see it. I don't think we've got any swaps. I don't feel like he's got enough flyers to justify that. We didn't see any artifacts or enchantments, I don't think. I could bring in Kindled Fury as like a 1 mana, perhaps possible answer for his Dramoka's Gift, but doesn't seem super likely. Dramoka's Gift is a big deal for sure, but I guess I have like Grim Contest or Sarkhan's Rage. I can do instant speed in response, so still have some outs. Let's just try this. I think this hand's not good enough. We do have Dramoka and we have a turn 2 Glade Watcher, but if I don't draw lands in this deck, I feel like I just lose. I did win on a mull to 5 before. Let's mulligan here and see if we can't do better. Alright, 1 lander, unfortunate. Can't do much about it, so I guess we'll go to 5. Well, at least our opponent mulled too. Alright, well, certainly can't ask for... It's kind of funny we have 3 of our 4 colors, but not the one that gets us that Dramoka. I guess we're not at like the worst position since Our opponent had to mull too. Alright, Vulturous Aven's actually pretty acceptable. Could be our means of finding a white mana. Alright. Whisper is unfortunately still a big deal. Alright, actually, Bowmaster's not the worst. I may sack it to an Aven, I haven't decided yet. Or I could sack the Aven to itself if I thought the 4/5 body would be better later, which I think it might actually be. Alright, getting dashed, which is kind of a big deal, but not quite dead yet. Guess it's better than like progressing his board per se. Alright, land helps. So I guess we play Vulturous Aven, and I am going to exploit, but I don't know which one yet. I think I actually exploit the Aven. My reason being, if I play Sandstep Scavenger next turn, I can pump my Morph, but is that even better? I feel like this is going to be better if I make it to the late game, so let's get rid of the Aven. Grim Contest, guess, is better with the Aven, but next turn I play Sandstep Scavenger, so I'm not exactly in the worst spot ever. Alright, now he hard cast it, so guess I'm a little more inclined to play Scavenger pumping itself now. Could also pump my Bowmaster. And attack. I'm trying to think what that does. What that lets me do is next turn unmorph this to block the Warbrute. But if he's got a combat trick, I'm toast. I think I'm actually going to pump and go for the aggressive play here. I know it seems strange, but I think it's actually fine for us. Like, I suspect a combat trick since I've seen one already. So I would prefer to go slightly on the offensive. If he trades here, it's also not bad for us. Yeah. Like, having the Grim Contest kind of helps. I just feel like a combat trick is so likely that I would prefer to possibly race and do a bit better. I can take 5 here. I'm not quite at the point where I'm going to die imminently, so it seems fairly safe. Alright, Destructor Dragon's kind of a big deal. Here's our Dramoka mana. I think now we play Dramoka and pass. And what this does is gives me some blocking options. If he has Dramoka's Gift, he has to cast it on Whisper of the Wilds. So I'm not scared of that one. Tread Upon is like the real concern. If he attacks with Destructor Dragon, I think I just take it. Going to 5 does put me in Sarkhan's Rage range, but think I just... So if I block with Sandstep Scavenger and he tread upons, he kills me. It does seem like tread upon, so I guess the right play is block here, and then if he tread upons, I take... I take 7, bringing me to 2, but then I can attack with Dramoka, bolster my Scavenger, and leave up Grim Contest. I think that's correct. I guess if my opponent's got tread upon, maybe I want to double block. Dramoka's Gift, once again, does not fix this. It seems like tread upon. I'm going to double block here. I think this is correct. Oh, it's Arc Bond. Well, that was tough. I liked our deck. Our deck was amazing. It was very fun. I had a lot of fun with this deck. So losing the finals is okay. We had to mull to 5 2 times. Never really ideal, and it wasn't even because of color screw. It was simply because of mana screw. Straight up, just mana screw. But I still think 17 lands was correct for this deck with the double ramp because it wasn't an issue in any other match, really. I don't even think did I mulligan in any other match? I may have mulliganed once in one other match. But other than that, we had some very keepable hands. This deck was awesome. It's a really fun deck. Played much better than I thought it would, so very satisfied with the 4-color nonsense. I very easily think we could have beaten our opponent. In fact, I know we could because we beat him on a mull to 5 game 1. So I know that our deck was capable of beating our opponent's deck. It just happened that we had a more awkward mull to 5 this time around and didn't play out as well for us as game 1. But still, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I certainly did. Unfortunately, I never got to play Assault Formation once, which is definitely sad since I think that the card was just insane in this deck too. So very disappointed I didn't get to play the Assault Formation. But other than that, yeah, this deck came together really nicely. So all right, we'll see you for the next draft.